the Lockheed Martin over there.
Video games are maybe the most insecure form of storytelling I can think of. Like, we get it, you're the new guy, but so much of the discourse around this whole mess is based in this assumption that the peak of storytelling is movies and TV shows. And yeah, on average, I do think they tend to have better stories than video games, but the desperation to be just like them, I would argue, kind of ruins everything. The point is, we'd be better served focusing on what makes video games unique. And I think if there's one strength that video games have over everything else, it's setting. I mean, location. Movies can do interesting stuff with that, but there's really no substitute for inhabiting a place yourself. Like, if you've never opened up an empty Gmod map and just wandered around for hours, then we are fundamentally different people. But if you have, you know that a location can do a lot on its own, and that sense of place is so hard to nail down because there isn't necessarily a hard set of criteria for it. Put scientifically, some places are a vibe and some aren't. Having a little hub area with a bunch of different biomes right next to each other, that's a vibe. Like, you could hack into Dark Souls and take out all the enemies and it would still be one of the best video games ever made because Lordran just has so much character to it. And everything I'm saying goes triple for horror games where atmosphere is kind of the whole point. It's a lot easier to get scared or drawn in by the story of a game if you feel a connection to the place it's happening. For example, PT is a game that tells its story entirely through its location. It's also a game that's been talked about for approximately 8 billion hours on YouTube, so I'm not going to rehash anything here. I already made a bad video about PT, don't watch it, just play Devotion, that's the takeaway. But what is it that makes a location frightening? Is it dank hallways full of rusty pipes? Derelict buildings with the floorboards creaking underneath your feet? The answer is a big spider.
Oh, hey, you want to talk about video games?
I fucking hate sound. I'm sick of audio. Do not get used to my videos having any voiceover. It's just going to be royalty-free music and text on a screen from now on. I recorded a bunch of shit with a lavalier mic, and then everything that came out of it sounded awful. It's currently on a UPS truck back to the manufacturer to see what's wrong with it. And I've been sick for the past 2.5 weeks, so my voice sounds awful. Anyways, Penumbra's pretty good. It does a great job making you feel like you're somewhere that's hostile to all life. I mean, it is set in a lead mine, so that's about 90% of the work right there, but Frictional does a great job with the last 10%. And a bunch of mines could get boring, but there's a lot of variety despite that limitation. There are living quarters, labs, dog kennels, whatever this is. You never have a chance to settle in. It's always throwing new shit at you. The fact that it's basically a point-and-click adventure game also gives it an edge with respect to forcing you to take in the environment. I mean, you can hit the R button to unlock the cursor and move it around the screen if you want to feel like you're playing the conduit for the Wii. This is also aided by puzzles being spatial reasoning and physics stuff that just makes inherent sense to a human brain. For the most part. The harsh lighting also really sells the cold. Your flashlight creates a ton of bloom, your glow stick bathes everything in this sickly green glow. There were better looking games by 2007, but for this small of a team, the mastery over the lighting is really impressive. Also unrelated, I just love these loading screens. Nobody is better than Frictional at putting text over a screenshot and making it atmospheric. The sound design of this place also does a ton. It's dry and heavy like you're watching an old movie, and it sells the cold even further. And I'm always going to be a sucker for putting a trigger for scary sound effects on a specific spot on the map. The sound also sells the weight of every object you pick up and throw at a dog's head. Speaking of which, the ability to pick up and throw anything is good. It's just a good thing to put in your game, but it's also weirdly nice for getting you invested in the space around you. Like, in real life, I'm probably not gonna spend 45 minutes picking up and throwing every object in my apartment at the wall, but the knowledge that I could gives me an increased appreciation for the physicality of the space. And everything I've said about Penumbra extends to pretty much every game by Frictional. The Theta Labs in Soma are completely different from the halls of the facility in Black Plague, but there's something there. You can tell these are the same people. And normally I don't find 1800s Prussian castles very interesting, but Castle Brennenburg is so detailed, it really draws you into the setting. Those ornate interiors can be so warm and inviting, and then on a dime it becomes this suffocating maze of satin and gaudy paintings. It's all just so crunchy. I don't know the adjective to describe it. I just want to take a bite out of it. The bunker in Amnesia the Bunker isn't that big, but that's kind of an asset when the whole game is about memorizing escape routes and points of interest so that you don't get murdered by a rat man. And Amnesia Rebirth is set in the desert. Somebody should make a good game in that setting at some point. But if every other Frictional game is like a classic point-and-click adventure, then Soma is more of a stasis or a sanitarium, in that it's a huge fucking bummer. And the level design enhances that. One of the ways you can solve this puzzle is to relentlessly electrocute this innocent robot. And the room is set up in such a way that after you do that, you have to walk past him twice.
Well, you know, robots don't feel anything, so...
Even stuff like healing affects the environment. Anytime you use a healing node, it permanently shorts out any electronics around it. To me, Soma has all the best qualities of Amnesia and Penumbra, with the exception of the stalkers kind of being terrible, but you can just turn those off now, it's fine.
Look at footage. Get out of here. Fuck off.
It's way cooler than either visually, in my opinion, mostly because the entire game looks like a pre-rendered background from the 90s. Being at the bottom of the ocean also opens you up to that. This curtain of black that extends out into forever is scary visually, just on a primal level, but it also reinforces the crushing loneliness that this game is a meditation on. The ocean is pretty good for that. Speaking of which, Still Wakes the Deep is tangentially related to Frictional by way of the devs being responsible for, I'm gonna say the worst Amnesia game, but I'm not gonna commit to that opinion very hard. An oil rig full of lovable and extremely Scottish co-workers is a fantastic setting.
See you for darts tonight. We'll put a wee picture of Rennick up on the board for you.
And it's also laid out really well. It's a super linear game, but this organically laid out workplace feels supernatural and keeps it from ever feeling like you're boxed in by the game design. You're more so boxed in by that. It uses the design principles of real-life oil rigs in a way that leads your eye and makes the game's optional navigation assistance feel kind of pointless. And it's just so homey. Sure, it's a giant OSHA violation, but if we're putting this and Penumbra on a scale of workplace comfort, this is like a 3 or a 4, where Penumbra is a 0 on a good day. I guess that number goes down a little bit over the course of the game. The use of lighting is also kind of genius. Like, an oil rig is just naturally gonna have cool shadows and color choices, but they really seize that potential. And the use of darkness combined with the frankly insane enemy designs makes their shape threatening and incomprehensible. That thoughtful rationing of visual information really ramps up the horror and makes the mess of pipes that you're stumbling around in feel just as alien as that. They also made a physical model of the oil rig that they use as an instrument to get the sounds of metal creaking and stuff.
And it's brilliant because every surface of it can be tapped, bowed, scraped, or rubbed.
And that just makes me happy that that exists. But I guess if any location is really going to capture fear and isolation, it's not one where Scottish accents are constantly bringing a smile to your face. And there's never been a Scottish person in space. Do me a favor, don't look that up. It's true. Transitions are really hard.
I don't think they have any video games out here. I've been sick for 3 weeks now.
Please don't look at my lazy eye. Please don't. System Shock 2 was one of the first games that made me realize how uniquely effective a setting could be in a video game. It was also the first time I realized that gamers are literally always wrong.
Oh, you have to turn off the music. It ruins the atmosphere.
System Shock 1 is arguably a better candidate for this video considering the villain of that game is the setting, but the original is, and the remake is cool, but I'm not crazy about how it looks. I really like the MGS1 style textures, but the lighting is just so Unreal Engine to me. The story of System Shock 2 isn't that complicated. In System Shock 1, an AI took over the station and killed everybody, so the captain of the Von Braun says, "I'm not gonna let that happen on my ship. I'm just gonna make the AI super easy to hack into." Can you guess how that went? But the delivery mechanism of that simple story is really great. Exploring the diverse interiors of this huge passenger spaceship and piecing together how it all fell apart after an alien hive mind got on board. You do that through audio and text logs.
Whose idea was it to bring 150 chimpanzees on board anyway?
Lots of little character moments and world building happen in these logs, which then get fully illuminated by exploring the place that these people lived their lives before it became a not great place to be. In System Shock 2, you're caught in the middle of a struggle between organic and inorganic life, and you feel that in the location. There's meat moss and growths and piss and shit and cum everywhere, and a lot of how you stock up on ammo and spec out your character is specializing in fighting organic or inorganic targets. It's a really great central theme that ties everything together. There's such a consistent visual language to the design of this ship.
Recon in force and ensure its remedy. I've changed the weapons lockup code to 1-3.
And this is Looking Glass right between the first two Thief games, so the ambience is like top of the line. As someone who falls asleep to videos with names like Creamy Brown Noise, I appreciate that every deck of the Von Braun has its own flavor of ambient spaceship humming. There's a movie theater, a rec center. Even when you're in labs and other stark, boring type shit, you still get the sense that this place was lived and worked in comfortably. A game where you do not get that sense is
Some sort of paranormal project.
You lost the port booster. Unbelievable.
And is now the oldest service with 62 years of continuous service. It holds the record.
Can I like... Alright, I'm playing the remake.
The corridors of the Ishimura are scary enough even when you're not watching a bat made of human flesh turn somebody inside out. Even before all this shit happened, this place seemed pretty awful. You get to see it in full working capacity in the prequel movie, and even then it still looks like a horror show. Like if Ted from Medical walks around the corner slightly too fast, I'm probably still gonna blast his skin off just on basic human instinct. The remake also makes the game way more non-linear, which on paper I'm not crazy about, but I think they handle it about as well as you possibly could. Backtracking can change areas you've already been to in pretty big ways, like fully new encounters and side quests, but also in small ways that are kind of funny, like increasing the amount of fog or spawning a single worm behind a door. Dead Space 2 moves to the Sprawl, which is a scary name for an actually pretty nice place. It's even got a daycare center. Yay! This one is like an incomprehensibly huge space station, and it's got a ton of variety. It's constantly throwing you into new places and new situations. Look at how they even like angle this couch so you get funneled into the cutscene better. But you also never really get that same sense of familiarity because of that, which works great for that game because you're not supposed to get comfortable. Dead Space 2 is kind of paced like you're falling down the stairs. and the stairs are covered in firecrackers.
The last thing we want is for him to die.
Nicole? Now, Alien Isolation gets a slight bump to its atmosphere on account of it being the best looking video game ever made. And the fact that the devs of the game were given a bunch of production assets from the original movie obviously has a lot to do with this. They were kind of working with golden shit from the start, but they did such a good job with it. There's not too many buttons or greebles. Every inch of this ship feels considered for a version of reality where this is what future tech looks like. Look at these arcade machines. I've been thinking about these for a decade. It's not that complicated of an effect, but somebody thought to have the screens on underneath those sheets. Again, it feels like a place where people actually lived and worked. Those people may get the short end of the stick graphically, but it's worth it.
I'm not sick anymore.
Really proud of all of your accomplishments, and we just wanted to say
The thing about all the places I've talked about so far is that they're like objectively scary. Oh man, you made the bottom of the ocean scary. Good job. I want to see regular places. Places I go every day of my life get warped into something sinister. I want to see what you can do when the aesthetics of the location you've chosen are actively fighting the player's ability to be afraid. And what's more terrifying than a monument to blind consumerism? It's a trick question. The answer is a big spider. Five Nights at Freddy's security breach is good. I like it. Sure, the part where you actually play the game is questionable, but I've never seen something that captures that raw Gmod map energy quite like this. You could take out all the enemies, the missions, the story, gameplay mechanics. It would just be better at that point. Really, the only strength this game has is the Freddy Fazbear Mega Pizzaplex. It's so much. It kind of makes my eyes hurt just looking at it, but that's just real. Malls and Chuck E. Cheese's are already the gaudiest places on Earth, and this one feels like it was designed out of spite for the concept of children. I want you to take a minute and just really absorb how big this place is.
Good news. It looks like the door to El Chips is open.
If you've ever played an MMO in first person, you know that games will sometimes fudge the scale of an area a little bit. It's not realistic, but it's meant to be easy to move around in. But the Mega Pizzaplex is so overkill, I kinda love it. When I was a kid, we would do birthday parties at the Fun Junction in the annex of a dying mall, and we were happy with that. This place takes up like half a school zone. But ignoring the size, the thing I actually like about this place is how much it just exists. It's not laid out in a way that makes any sort of sense for fun gameplay, but it does kind of feel like an actual place. All of these out-of-the-way areas that could functionally just be a closet to hide in are sprinkled around the map in such a random fashion and full of so much unnecessary detail.
Oh. That doesn't...
that it feels half like poor level design and half like poor building planning. I guess the long and short of it is I don't actually think this place is very well designed. I just love abandoned malls. It's just so cool to explore this place when it's empty, but all the shit is still turned on for some reason. There's half cleaned up messes from dinner. There's preparations for a birthday party tomorrow. There's that one coworker who always forgets to bring their water bottle home. Would this insane level of detail be easier to appreciate if most of this map wasn't just empty space that they filled with collectibles and security droids because they ran out of time? Yeah, there's no other part to that statement. Really though, if we're talking about malls and mall-type zones in horror games, there's a pretty obvious gold standard. For one, the Willamette Parkview Mall is actually laid out like an honest-to-God mall and not a discovery zone from hell. I've seen this place before. It's a distinctly Japanese idea of early 2000s Americana that's both funny and also extremely spot on. Unlike Security Breach, the out-of-the-way areas here are designed with intention. They're supposed to be both useful and memorable. Structurally, Dead Rising is all about learning the layout of this mall. The time limit means you have to be playing efficiently and learning what routes are fastest. And starting the game over multiple times means you start to notice things like killing this boss drops a really good weapon that respawns every in-game day.
Bro, it respawns every time you enter the area. That's why it's the best weapon in the game, you fucking jackass.
But the area he's located in is pretty hard to get to at the beginning of the game, so unlocking some sort of shortcut would really make my next playthrough easier. So when you beat him, you find a survivor that unlocks that exact shortcut for you. It's just such a tightly designed experience that's so satisfying to slowly start to master. It would be such a shame if they put out a remaster that completely fucks up the balance of the game by making you level up 5 times faster.
I think that's gonna look really cool. Uncharted. Oh, I ripped my pants open. Oh my god.
Let's do some rapid fire real quick. Condemned. If you want grimy, derelict buildings, you kind of can't beat it. It's very clearly inspired by 7, and it really makes the most of that dingy, disgusting feeling. The sound design is some of the best I've ever heard, and it really plays into combat.
Federal agent, come out peacefully or I will use force.
And the combat affects the environment. If you pull an electrical conduit off a wall, it shuts off the lights in the area. If you yank the supports off a shelf, it knocks the whole thing over. The game is about using the environment as a weapon, and I really love that. When I was a kid, I used to listen to this podcast that would walk through each level of each campaign of Left 4 Dead, talking about the set pieces and strategies involved, and also just taking in the atmosphere. So I'm probably, like, on the spectrum, at least, but I don't have the money to get that diagnosed. Even now, going back, it really stands out how much each campaign has its own color palette. Dead Air is orange, Blood Harvest is purple, Death Toll is blue, No Mercy is like grayer, greener blue. And like, of course, I remember every inch of these levels. I was playing them over and over again when I was 13. Except my family computer was on some integrated graphics shit that could run the game fine, but could not handle the lighting engine, so everything was just on full bright all the time. So even though the adults I was playing with hated me for being an annoying little kid, they still kept me around because I could see everything in that little underground section in level 2 in No Mercy. Other than that, yeah, who could have guessed? Valve is good at level design. Okay, I gotta, like, talk about it at least, right? I love Silent Hill, but I don't talk about it that much because I don't really have any hot takes that haven't already been covered in some 8-hour video essay on this website. In my opinion, 3 has the more interesting locations of the first 4 games. There's a lot of emotionally impactful stuff going on in 2, but you really can't beat the first few hours of 3. I know I said Dead Rising had the definitive horror game mall, but Silent Hill 3's is way up there. And I would argue this is the horror game Subway. You feel the emptiness in a way a lot of games can't. I do like that Silent Hill 1 has a pretty direct explanation for why the town of Silent Hill is like that. It's a self-contained story. And then 2 is able to use that setting to do something completely different without necessarily retconning anything, and then 3 is right back to the presence it had in the first game. To me, Silent Hill is at its best when it's being used as a vehicle to tell a story that would already be interesting regardless of the setting. But that's boring. We need 40 pyramid heads, they're all gonna fight Skibbity Toilet, White Days in a school. That's pretty cool. Rule of Rose is set on a Zeppelin with a caste system run by a group of children. That's pretty cool. Plenty has been said about Fear's level design and how it works perfectly with the AI. And also the lighting is just like kind of outstanding for 2005. Honestly though, I just really like how much of this game is set in an office building. It's not that that's scary, it's just a really good place to set a bunch of gunfights. There's a solid few seconds at the end of every single fight where you're just waiting for the dust and papers to settle. Monolith put out this and Condemned in the same year. There will never be another studio like them. Everyone who worked there is special and beautiful, and I'm gonna give them a kiss right now. Here I go, I'm coming. Also, real quick, I just want to talk about two that don't necessarily work for me. If you think of my interest in something as a meter, that thing is gonna bottom out as soon as I find out your game is set in an insane asylum. Maybe I've just played too many dogshit free horror games, but that setting always felt like a shortcut. You gotta do something interesting with it. Outlast, in my opinion, is not doing anything particularly interesting with it. It's the game I'm most prone to just looking at my screen and going, okay, it's a dude jerking off on a pile of dead bodies. That's fucking scary, man. Now, a mountain full of cult members, that's a pretty fun idea. You just have to avoid fucking up literally everything else about the story, and you're good to... Okay. Liminal spaces also don't really do that much for me. Like, the essence of the idea is cool, but if you're asking me to feel that creeped out, unsettled feeling from one, I kinda need to happen upon it organically. A space that's been intricately designed to be perfectly liminal just doesn't have the same punch to me. I want to finish this video with one that's kind of special to me. I talk about horror a lot because I like it, and I know some people who talk about horror are like completely desensitized to scary shit, and to an extent I think I am too, but I don't want to sit here and act like I'm unflappable. There are specific things that do still get to me. Bugs, the animation in Zenless Zone Zero, but like empty houses, that's what really does it. And I'm not talking about like old, spooky, abandoned. I mean like a moderately well-furnished two-story farmhouse with nobody in it. I think the space being relatable adds to the feeling of unease. Like the Spencer Mansion doesn't really do that to me. It's this huge, lavish mansion in the middle of the woods. It being abandoned and spooky just feels natural. And the house in Resident Evil 7 is more in line with what I'm getting at, but it's also so disgustingly horrific that I'm kind of just impressed. I guess the point is it's not so much empty houses as it is empty homes. The ending of Condemned is scary because instead of fighting a bunch of homeless people in a basement somewhere, you're fighting one homeless person in a pretty nice farmhouse. I think feeling like I could have maybe been here at some point in my real life does a lot. There are two horror games that always come to mind as having really gotten to me as an adult. One of them is White Day. I talked about that a little bit in the Stalker video. There was just something so real about the sensation that that guy was always present and looking for me. And then the other one is a free itch.io game. If you're watching a video like this from a channel this small, you've probably heard of Anatomy.
What happens to a house when it is left alone?
It's a game by Kitty Horror Show that had kind of a moment on YouTube a few years back. I don't necessarily think it's her best game, but I do understand why it's the one that landed with most people. Almost all of her games are about locations, and they're personified by the fact that they've been abandoned or disrespected or taken for granted. These places always feel real and alive, no matter how abstract they get, but Anatomy is just set in a fucking house. Silence has never been more oppressive to me than it is in this game. That silence is broken up by cassette tapes that you collect. They play back a voiceover that muses about the philosophical link between the rooms in a house and the anatomy of a human body.
The function of analyzing a bathroom should be immediately obvious.
And instead of exploring aimlessly until you find each cassette tape, the game spawns one at a time and tells you exactly where it is. And something about the bluntness of that really freaks me out. I want to be clear, this entire game is just holding down W to walk around an empty Unity map with the draw distance turned down until you find collectibles and bring them back to the kitchen. But every little crumb of horror that you're being drip-fed this entire time is slowly making it more and more clear that you are not welcome here.
The windows of the house serve much the same purpose as eyes, and anyone who has ever rounded a bend on a long drive and come suddenly face to face with a pale, dark manor will tell you that the house is a creature capable of...
And that's not because of some ghostly presence that haunts this place, it's the place itself. It feels precision designed to get you into situations where you're peering around corners or staring at dark hallways, praying that nothing comes running out of the shadows at you. And maybe this is a spoiler, but it never does. Basically nothing happens in this game, but that doesn't stop my hair from standing on end just looking through the footage in Premiere. Fuck that. That eerie silence, the hard shadows, plenty of games do the haunted PS1 game thing, but I don't know if any of them work as well for me as this. Assigning every room in the house a different part of the human body is cute thematically, but those tapes are also just really effective as build-up for whatever place it's gonna send you next.
I can feel his bones snapping. I leave the door closed. I close my eyes and try to sleep. The teeth continue growing on me until there's nothing left of me but teeth and gums and sinew. The basement is dark.
Oh shit, Dead Space guy Fortnite.
Every time the game closes on you and you open it back up, the house gets more fucked up. The geometry glitches out, you start spawning in different locations. It feels like the game is giving you chances to stop invading this house, and it gets more angry with you every time you don't take the hint. Maybe it's just me, I kind of get relieved when the game gets super abstract by the end, because at least you're not trapped in that fucking house anymore. Without even really thinking about it, I tend to assign a consciousness to inanimate objects. But Anatomy gets to me by doing that to the home as a concept. You know how you trust your house to keep you safe while you sleep defenseless for several hours every single night? What if you couldn't trust it? What if it actively resented you for the fact that you're going to abandon it someday? By the end, the fear turns into sympathy, but by that point, the house doesn't really want that from you anymore.
Have you not been paying attention? Did it not occur to you that as an organism existing within a greater organism, your intrusion would be felt? When a house is both hungry and awake, every room becomes a mouth.
Oh, I wasn't looking at... The game is the setting, the exploration, the story, the monster, it's all the house. It might not be the best location in horror games, but it's probably the most location in horror games. But is there even a best setting when they're all so different? Yeah, the answer is Parasite Eve. Quarantined New York City, frozen in time at Christmas. I don't actually have anything to say about how good the execution is. That's just like objectively the coolest place you could set a horror game. That's it. That's the video. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry it took me so long to get this one out. This is a hobby. I have other stuff going on in my life. For instance, I've spent most of the last year running. Oh, fuck. I'm playing my girlfriend in 8-ball hard mode right now. I'm gonna see if I can check this fucking shit out. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna check this shit out. I'm gonna fucking watch this.